in the background, Ricky?
No, it's
All
not
right, good.
bad.
Good. So you all moved into your new house?
Oh, we're still unpacking boxes, so I would say we're halfway there.
Moving sucks.
Yes.
All right, we're live, ready to go. Hey, everybody, welcome to the 3Cast for June 15th, 2016. We're officially halfway through this year.
Oh, don't remind me.
Yeah, this year's almost over. Time for Christmas. I'm your host this week, Matthew Weber, and this week I'm joined by Ricky Williams.
Hey, what's up?
And now, usually, this is a very rare occurrence. It's just Ricky and I. Normally, Vince is the responsible one. He's the responsible adult. Ricky uh, is the delinquent adolescent who never shows up. I'm the lazy fat bastard. All right, so this week we're going to be talking about musicals. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not.
That's
Ricky hates
really
musicals. No, this is torture. We should definitely do that. No, this week we are going to put aside our usual bit that we do. We go through review a movie or whatever. First, we're going to start off and talk about WWDC 2016. Now, way back in 2010 when we started this podcast, oh my God. Can you believe it's been 6 years, Ricky? I mean, did you think we'd make it past the 5th episode? I mean,
Oh man,
I wish
crazy.
somewhere I have to have that first episode recorded.
Yeah,
It has to be somewhere on my hard drive. I'm gonna take that out and listen to that.
yeah. That's gotta be holy.
We should be able to sell that for entertainment value. What's
This
funny is
my
the
third house since then.
what's funny is the production value still has not gotten any better. I mean, we've had to have done like, I don't know, 400 episodes and we still suck at this. Anyways, when we started this podcast, we were all very entrenched in the Apple ecosystem. Ricky still is. I don't see him leaving Apple anytime soon.
Vince still is and just talking bad about it.
I think Vince gets Apple stuff not necessarily because he likes it so much, but because he gets all this money and he has to spend it. So he just gets the most expensive stuff on the market, and that just happens to be Apple. Me, I've abandoned Mac. I've abandoned iPhone. The only Apple product I still use is the original iPad Mini, and it is terrible. I mean, everything crashes on that stupid thing. The only thing I use it for is Chrome. It's great.
I have an iPad Mini 2, and that's pretty bad. So
yeah,
I can only imagine.
In my opinion, in my humble opinion, the only place where Apple still leads in anything, still, is in tablets. They still rule in tablets. Android tablets are terrible. Other than that,
I think
I still like Mac. All right, so let's start off with Mac.
Android smartwatch, they suck. I mean,
Nobody cares about watches, Ricky. Nobody cares about watches. I mean, who the hell wears a watch anymore? That's why you have a phone. Anyway, so let's start off with Mac, with what they announced with Mac. Let's go through this really quick here. I'm using all iMore stuff. So the new name is Sierra. As you know, they a few years ago they changed all their names to California stuff. So I guess the biggest feature they announced was Siri is coming to the Mac.
I mean, the auto unlock's pretty big too.
Such an Apple fanboy.
Come on, everyone complains about having to type passwords.
Well, yeah, all right. So that's probably a big feature if you have like an iPhone or an iWatch and a Mac, but I don't. Yeah. My iMac's sitting behind the two monitors I use for Windows. It's literally buried. So I mean, it's just,
fuming. It's back. It's back. You're pissed off.
That's got like 3 inches of dust on it. I don't even think it's plugged in anymore. It's, so the biggest feature that everybody's going to care about is Siri, that everybody can use. But I don't think it's that big of a deal because they had Siri on it in the last version. Really, I mean, even though it was still called Spotlight, I mean, you could type it. The only difference is you had to type everything in. You know what I mean? I know this is more advanced, but I'm not that impressed. I've never really cared that much for Siri, anyways. I've always thought it was kind of. I hate talking on the phone. Why do I want to talk to a computer on the phone? You know what I mean? That just doesn't make any sense to me. But all right, so they also. All right, so Apple Pay has now come to the web, but you can only use it in Safari, apparently. Which I guess if you use a Mac, you probably are using Safari, but when I used the Mac, I didn't.
That's a very Apple way to do it anyways.
Yeah. See, I use it. I use Chrome because it syncs across everything. You know what I mean?
I hate Chrome.
Oh, Ricky. Google is where it's at, man. Copy and paste in more places. What is that? Oh, they're universal clipboard across everything.
Copy or universal clipboard.
Okay, that's neat. One interesting thing that I thought was really good is they went from 20 gigabytes of free storage to 150 gigabytes of free storage.
Yeah.
That's something that not everybody's doing because like Google only gives you 15 gigabytes. I think Microsoft only gives you 15 gigabytes.
Well, it's not cloud storage, right? They optimize your hard drive, so it's actual hard drive storage, right? So with that, I don't know how I feel about it yet, right? Because here's the thing. When they explain it to you, so they're going to take your hard drive, and what they're going to do is they're going to move a ton of your least used stuff into the cloud where you can get at it at any time. But if it's in the cloud, you can get at it at any time when you have an internet connection. And since it's on like a computer, that means if you have a laptop, that's not any time, right? So that's the thing that I'm scared about is, what happens when you're sitting somewhere you don't have internet and you're trying to get at the stuff.
Yeah.
What happens then, right?
Well, yeah, because I mean, like with OneDrive and Dropbox and all those things, all that stuff is still local, right? Because there's a copy of it on your computer in addition to it being on the cloud.
Yeah.
Whereas what they're apparently doing is taking it off from your hard drive and putting it in the cloud, which I don't. All right. So everybody can agree that Apple does really good hardware. I mean, all their hardware is really good. It's really nice. It's really durable. It works very well. But the services have always been pretty lackluster. Like iCloud is just not. It doesn't work all that good all the time. It's very platform specific. So if you buy into using stuff like iCloud, like say I used to use 1Password, right?
Yeah.
And 1Password was always, cross-platform. You could get it on Windows, you could get it on Android, iPhone, all that stuff. But they also allowed you to go through and save all your passwords to one iCloud. And once you do that, you're pretty much locked into Apple stuff. And it's the same thing with everything else, unless you can get that stuff out of there and then upload it to something that's more cross-platform.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I guess, go ahead, Ricky.
Yeah, no, see, like, I don't know. That's the only thing that when I saw it, I thought I don't know how I feel about this yet, right? Because all it's gonna take is one person who can't get access to their file because they don't have an internet connection, or one person who loses a file and they're gonna say that it was taken from the machine to the cloud and then it disappeared, right? I mean, that's what happened with Apple Music with, the guy, I don't know, a couple months ago who said that they took his MP3s and replaced them with, their version from Match, I think, but he was like some, producer or something. So he had like these versions that were never released or whatever. And, basically saying Apple took it from his drive and replaced it with something else and he couldn't get it back, right? So, that just has to happen once. And obviously it's Apple, it's going to be all over the news, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the auto unlock definitely is a killer function. But like you said, I have an Apple Watch, so it makes sense for me. But I mean, I'm gonna love that, and it's a great way to, have people. I mean, it's a great way for people who own the watch to add another benefit to it. It's also a great way to push people who own a Mac and own an iPhone to get a watch, because you really do lose a lot of time during the day putting in the damn password. And how many people always argue that they hate, putting in passwords? The universal clipboard, I think, is awesome. But again, I have an iPad, an iPhone, you know what I mean? So to be able to just copy from one, I've done, the thing where you copy and you send it to yourself via iMessage to get it on your other device, right? Because it's just the fastest way to do it. So to just skip that step, that's pretty cool right there. Um, but I mean, there's little tweaks. I think, like I was talking to a friend who, he's a dev, so he already runs it. And I think they talked about it on stage two, is where they're going to be also getting rid of stuff like caches and stuff, to free up your space, right? And he said, like, when you download something and install it, it automatically deletes the DMG once the installation is done. How many people have tons of DMGs sitting there because they've already installed the software and they didn't bother to go back and get rid of it? You know what I mean? So that's a pretty cool thing to do. I heard there's like little things like when you hit the sound in the taskbar, it shows you the volume, but it also shows you all the different audio inputs that you can select. So that saves you from going into your system prefs, into audio. You know what I mean? Like anything efficient that can save you time, to me, is always a great upgrade.
Yeah. Um, and all right, so the reason why, all right, so I'm going to talk about this just real quick for me. Um, the reason why I left Mac was mainly because the hardware was so expensive. So, in order to get me to come back, there's going to have to be some really great features like maybe a redesign of OS, Mac OS or whatever. I might end up buying a laptop. I'm going to need a new laptop eventually, and it'll probably be a Mac. All right, so let's move on to iOS 10 quickly, mainly because I really kind of want to go through these features because, all right, so as everybody knows, I switched to an Android phone. And frankly, there's nothing here that they updated in iOS 10 that would get me to switch back. Not a damn thing. Most of it is redesigns. Like they redesigned Apple Music. The most interesting thing to me is that they redid the home screen, the lock screen, and the notifications. Those look really neat. But again, if you have an older iPhone, a lot of that stuff that you're not going to get because you don't have 3D Touch. So if you don't have anything, if you don't have the newest iPhone 6s, you don't get the 3D Touch stuff. But they finally brought widgets to the home screens by using 3D Touch, and that looks really interesting. I mean, it's like finally, like this is iOS 10, and Android's had widgets on the home screen since the original Android.
Don't see it. I hate when people say that.
It's true. So
I don't care. I hate it.
What do you mean you hate it?
Had this since 1821. Good luck, Apple.
Oh no, I didn't say anything. Apple's finally caught up to Android by finally putting this feature Android's had for 10 years. I mean, I don't understand how hard it was to put in some functional widgets on the home screen. I mean, all right, so they've had widgets for like the last 3 years, right? but in order to get to them, you had to pull down the notification screen, and that's like, what's the point then? Then I might as well open up the app. That's to me. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's not even that big of a deal because I'm still not switching to iOS. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, there's too many things on Android that I like.
Yeah.
Being able to put your icons wherever the hell you want them. You know what I mean? I love that.
For me, like I think you brought up a good point, right? But for me, I'm probably in the opposite of what you were saying, right? Like the thing that I think is that yeah, the older hardware is not going to have some of these new features, or you know, it's gonna whatever. But I like that. I like if you get the new hardware for features that you want, right? See, like I have an iPad Mini 2, and I didn't like the way they did iOS 9 in that the Mini 2 supported everything, but it was a crappy experience because it was so slow to react. Like, I think that, you know, it should be where they say, okay, look, you know what? You know, just like in back in the days when they said, okay, we're gonna kill the floppy drive. Doesn't matter how many people complain, you know, you want a floppy drive, go buy an old machine with it. You want new features, then you're gonna have to, you know, do without it. I think this is the same, that you get a good experience with the new hardware, and if you want those features, you go and buy it rather than having a crappy experience on the old hardware because they're gonna give you everything because you know you feel like you're missing out. You know what I mean? Like I prefer them doing it that way.
Yeah, okay. So everybody complains about that when you're stuck on an older device and you really don't want to upgrade for whatever specific reason, mainly because of Apple's pricing. Um, the thing with the iPhone, like they're not more expensive on the iPhone than anybody else. I mean, everybody, all phones pretty much, top of the line phones are exactly the same as the iPhone. So the iPhone's not there. And as I said at the beginning, they still rule on tablets just because the iPad is, no matter what kind of iPad you have, the newest ones are just still way out there compared to anything Android is giving. It's just, and that's still an app problem because Android just doesn't. They're still blowing up phone apps, and it's just not
a good experience.
Yeah, it's just not a good experience. Whereas the apps on Android for the phone, they're pretty comparable. There are some apps on iOS that I miss. I miss Tweetbot. There are a lot more. There's a broader range of like mail apps on iOS than there is on Android. But because they have the one that I need, which is Outlook, I really don't care. Every once in a while there's a app that comes out on iOS only that I see, like, maybe I wish I had a newer device that I could run. Like Vainglory, which you talked about a few weeks ago. I don't know if you were here, Ricky. It's a mobile game that came out on iOS first. But it's on Android now. But still, and when it first came out, I had the iPhone at the time, and I tried to download it. I was like, it doesn't work on iPhone 5 because it's just not powerful enough. So those kind of things. All right. So one of the biggest things, and this is what we're going to talk about. This is probably our main topic for the night. They did some redesigns in iOS 10, but one of the things that they really focused on a lot in the keynote or whatever was messages. We at the Three Cats have had a right adventure in the last few weeks when it comes to cross-platform messages because I switched to Android and therefore can not use iMessages anymore, which is what we used before to communicate between the three of us. So when I did that, we switched to Slack. And Slack is kind of interesting because it's basically your own personal chat room from like the 90s or whatever.
It's like it works. Yahoo chat.
or AOL Messenger. You know what I mean? But it has some neat features, but the problem is it doesn't work all that well on Ricky's device. So we had to change. We decided to change, and we went to WhatsApp. And while I despise the design of WhatsApp on Android, I can put up with it because it actually does work. It has some. I really wish it had a desktop client, which it does not.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very
that would have
disappointing.
been nice.
And what's interesting, there's not even a web client from what I see, from what I can. I don't think it has a web
Yeah,
client at all.
which is funny because who owns them? Aren't they owned by someone now? Like
They
one
owned
of
by
yeah,
Facebook.
exactly. That's what I thought.
Yeah, you think that,
Like,
but you gotta also got to remember is that Facebook doesn't have a desktop client either. They rely on. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute, Ricky. We don't know what the hell we're talking about. They have a desktop client.
oh, they
Um,
do?
yeah, I'm downloading this shit right now. Yeah, for Mac and PC.
Okay.
What
I
the
gotta,
hell are
I
we
gotta
talking
see
about?
this.
I should, yeah, just WhatsApp.com/download has a,
Okay.
yeah, excellent. All right. Anyways, so we don't know what the hell we're talking about. Anyway, so back to Apple. They updated the messaging app. Now there was rumors beforehand that iMessage was actually going to come to Android, and they really need to do that if they're going to actually make iMessage a thing, because Android has, like, I don't know, 10 times as many devices out there. I mean, who cares whether or not it's winning or not, because they don't make money. Android doesn't make as much money as iPhone. We don't have to get into that argument, but there's still a lot of Android out there. They like to take over the feature phone or whatever market, and by bringing iMessage to Android, they really make it so it's like you can message me on iMessage or whatever, and we won't have to go through and worry about downloading a WhatsApp or anything like that. So let's see, they new formatting, bubble message animations, handwriting animation in real time, invisible ink for photos and messages, tap back, whatever the hell that means, digital touch with fireballs, heartbeats. Oh, the thing that they had, that stupid
On the
thing with
watch.
and the watch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just. I'm going to send you my
Actually pretty
heartbeat,
cool.
Ricky.
Yeah, but didn't they open it up to third party?
Yeah, so they're
Yeah.
gonna have extensions or whatever, so that like I could write an app for stickers or whatever. That's neat.
Yeah.
What would be more interesting is if they did. So basically, what they're doing is they're allowing developers to create apps that go into the stock iMessage app.
Yeah.
If they went the other direction and allowed them to take the messages themselves into another app, so in case you didn't like the design, or if there was a neat feature like swipe to dismiss or pull to refresh, all those innovative things that came out like in like Tweety 2 or whatever the hell it was back in the day. I mean, developers tend to come up with the things that Apple eventually integrates into their system. So I mean, because they can update faster and stuff like that. So, but they're not doing that. It's all into the app itself.
Yeah. See, when I saw that, I don't know. I didn't really like the whole idea of that, right? I didn't like the whole idea of apps that are inside messages. Here's my thing, and I don't like when one thing does a whole bunch of things. I like when one thing does one specific thing well. You know what I mean? Like I don't want
You're one of
to
those
go
freaks.
into
Hold on a second. You're one of those freaks that like e-ink e-readers, right? Because it just reads really well.
Oh no. Okay, I'm kind of weird because I hate that kind of stuff, right? Like over between a Kindle and an iPad, I would take the iPad any day because it can, you can play games but what I mean is like for instance in this case, you have messages. I just wanted to do messages, right? I don't want to go into messages and then click a tab to bring in some game that I can play while I'm messaging someone or you know what I mean? I don't want a third party app store within the messages app itself, right? Like I don't know. I just felt I didn't really like that whole deal when I saw it, right?
Yeah.
Like you, I think they should do something with Android. I think who was it that went to a conference and they were talking about messages and they were saying that they're open to it. It was the dude from Google, wasn't it? From Alphabet.
I don't
I
know.
can't remember. I saw it online somewhere and they were like, "Yeah, we're open to it if they would come and talk to us." But I think they should, because I think they don't want to get stuck in the BBM kind of thing, right? BlackBerry didn't want to release BBM everywhere because they thought that it was, something to pull people to their platform, and look where they're at now.
Yeah, by the time they actually decided to go through and release it for every platform,
No one wanted it.
yeah, RIM was dead. I mean, no, I mean, the only people who had Blackberries were people who were forced. I mean, literally. I mean, the only people who had Blackberries were literally had to be forced. I mean, here's your Blackberry. Have that. It's like, have you seen the movie Aladdin?
Oh yeah.
Ricky? Like it's the Aigo, the parrot or whatever with the crackers, shoving it down the Sultan's throat. That's Blackberry. That's the only way you get a Blackberry these days.
Right? So it's like, yeah, I don't want them to wait to do messages or iMessage everywhere on it's too late, because WhatsApp already has 90% of the market now, right? Because they can do everything that iMessage can do. Like,
they're everywhere.
WhatsApp, and it's actually pretty good. Like, I get the messages on my lock screen just like Messages does. You know what I mean? So it has functionality very much comparable to it.
Yeah. What I like. All right. So let me say this. On Android, I know this is gonna hurt Ricky. But on Android, when say you message me on WhatsApp, I can actually hit the reply button right there on the notification, and it will just open up a little window, just like iOS will do for the stock Messages app. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But they'll do it for WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So, does that do that?
iOS 10 does it too now.
Oh, iOS 10 is going to allow them to do that?
Yeah.
Finally, they're catching up to Android, Ricky. I just said to piss you off. Anyways, I don't know.
That's another thing that I also picked up on in the keynote, right? Is that with the changes they made to the lock screen now, so you can see everything from the lock screen, like your calendar, invitations or whatever, events, your messages, your WhatsApp notifications, and you can answer right from the lock screen now. But to me, that brings up a privacy issue, right? Because you no longer have to use Touch ID to authenticate in order to answer. So let's say your phone's sitting on a table and you run out for something. Someone could read your message, not only that, but they can also now answer. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's leading to the next iPhone where it's not going to be only Touch ID on the home button, it's going to be integrated into the screen. So, it's going to be the notifications going to come up without a preview. You 3D touch it, and it's going to read your thumb that quick and open the message.
Yeah, I don't think that's the way they'll go. Mainly because I think there's a certain trade-off. Either you're going to be completely security conscious, excuse me, and turn off those type of notifications completely, because I'm sure there's going to be a setting where you can just turn off the ability to reply to open up those dialogues or whatever on the lock screen completely. You'll either be like that, or you'll be okay with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But see, the thing is, I know
mainly because the reason why I say that is because most people aren't going to want to take the time to run their finger over the fingerprint scanner, because you have to be holding it like a certain way, especially with the bigger screens now. I mean, because a lot of times when you're still gonna be holding and doing it with 2 fingers. So I mean, I guess it's not as big of a problem as it would be as if you were just trying to do everything with one hand. Yeah. I mean, but the problem is, no phone these days, I mean, unless you got like a really small phone, it's just a one-handed phone most of the time.
For me, though, the thing is, I know they're going to have a setting where you can turn it off, right? But the problem is that it's Apple, right? So all it's going to take is one idiot who doesn't want to turn the setting off, and he's going to complain to a blog because someone saw his message, or one of his friends thought it'd be funny to reply to his wife that, he's out with Bambi or something. You know what I mean? And it's Apple, so it's going to get press, It's going to be all over the place. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the problem, right? It's the
Yep.
mountain out of the molehill.
Yeah. People seem to like bidding on Apple. All right. So we're at 10 o'clock. We're gonna move into the picks of the week real quick. Do you have a pick of the week, Ricky?
You go first. I do have one. I just have to think.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna choose a game called. All right. So Yahtzee is a dice game. Everybody knows Yahtzee. Um, it's been around for I don't know, like 50 years or something, and it's been on phone platforms, pretty much since the App Store opened. But the difference is they came out with a new version, not a new version, but I mean, if you ever played like the game Words with Friends, this is Yahtzee with friends. Basically, it's called Yahtzee with buddies. Basically, you play over the internet against just a randomly picked player or a friend, and it's a turn-based game, just like it always has been. But instead of having to actually be physically in the room, it's like Words with Friends, where you can basically play with pretty much anybody else who plays the game. It's free. It's not particularly well designed because it's actually not done by Hasbro. I'm pretty sure it's done by just some random third party, which scares me a little bit. But they have been advertising it on TV, so maybe they haven't gotten sued yet. But anyways, if you enjoy the classic game Yahtzee, and you're a lonely, single, poor, pitiable man like me, and want to play a game with somebody on the internet, it's a good game. It's free. I think there are in-app purchases, like to get rid of ads or something. I'm not sure, but I never do in-app purchases for pretty much anything these days. So Yahtzee for Buddies is the name. It's in iOS and Android. So if you're on the more popular platform or your preferred platform, it should be there. Anyways, Ricky, your pick of the week.
Okay, so my pick of the week is going to be Silicon Valley.
The TV show.
Yeah, the TV show, which is on HBO. It follows Richard Hendricks and his crew who are making Pied Piper. And I just started watching season 3. I love the show. It's hilarious as shit. That and Game of Thrones is the reason why I have HBO. And yeah, I love it. It's like, I mean, I know it's very polarizing. It always has been since season 1. It's either you watch it and you really like it, or you watch it and you hate it. So, that's my pick.
Interesting. I haven't watched TV, an actual TV show, in over a year.
Nice.
All right, so I completely wrote off the last season of Castle. I mean, you know how badly I really like the show Castle. They totally fucked up the last season, so I just didn't watch it at all. And that just soured me on TV completely. So I have a whole season of The Big Bang Theory to watch. I like NCIS LA. I haven't watched any of that season. And the regular NCIS is dead to me because they not only killed off Ziva.
Everyone's leaving now. Tony's leaving.
And Tony's gone. And I can't stand the new girl that they brought in a few years ago.
You don't like Bishop?
No, not really.
Kind of growing on me.
So I absolutely despised her to begin with. I mean, I hated her. I wanted Ziva back so bad, but I tolerated her as long as like Weatherly was on the screen, because basically Tony's like my favorite character. I don't I've never cared for McGee.
Really, he's my favorite. McGee and Abby. If those two leave, it's like.
I don't like Gibb.
Carmen will be the one holding the show together.
Yeah, and I don't care for him all that much either. I mean, I don't know. It's your standard procedural, whatever. Anyways, I just haven't caught up on any of my shows, and I'm gonna end up one of these days just having to go through and binge watch every single show after downloading 300 gigabytes of them off torrent.
I thought that was bad.
Yeah, well, I've been reading fan fiction lately. That's what I've been doing. I get on fan fiction. I read Harry Potter fan fiction. I read Castle fan fiction. It's so bad that I don't even like canon anymore. Anyways, right. So that is it for us this week. Next week, Vince should be back, I believe, and we're going to be doing the.
Utopia.
No, we did Zootopia last week.
Did that, right? So.
You missed that, Ricky. Come on, man. Show up every once in a while. You'll know what we've been doing. Next week, we may be doing the movie 300. I'm thinking that I'm going to try to find something different.
Yeah.
I despise that movie so bad. It's my choice. But I just wanted us for once to do a really bad movie and then talk about really bad movies. But I don't think I can force myself to watch it again, Ricky. It's so bad. So we may be doing something different. So tune in next week to find out what the hell we're doing. We'll be back. See you then.
All right, peeps.